Heidi Sime is the co-founder of Dreamwalkerz, a circadian wellness company focused on blue light blocking glasses and healthy home lighting designed especially for women and families. With an MFA in ecological architecture and a deeply creative background in design, photography, and wellness education, Heidi blends beauty, science, and environmental awareness to help people create healthy relationships with light, sleep, and modern living. Together with her husband, biohacker and circadian educator Thaddeus Owen, Heidi teaches practical ways to improve sleep, hormones, mood, and overall well being through circadian rhythm alignment, morning sunlight, and healthier nighttime environments. Their work has been featured on podcasts including Alexis Clark's Cultural Apothecary and across the ancestral health and wellness space. And I met you at Meatstock. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Lena. I'm so honored to be here.
Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this conversation for a while, and I have different seasons of my podcast, and every season I have to have a circadian wellness expert on because I really believe this is just the biggest pillar of our health, and we have to continue to talk about this. So right before I sat down for this interview, I took the most glorious walk with my dog at perfect South Carolina morning. It's still a little chilly, but the sun is just so warming on the skin. And every single time I take walks like this, I just feel like something shifts inside of me, right? I feel more creative, more focused, more me. So I have to ask you first, why does this happen? Is this something unique to my brain, or is this something that every single person can take a benefit of?
For sure. So Lena, there's so many levels to that, right? One of the things that just pops into my mind anytime anybody talks about just getting out and going for a walk, I call that processed, and I try to do it 10 before 10. So it's like a little hack. So if you can at least get 10 minutes in before 10 o'clock, that walking forward motion, that is the best thing that you can do for your mind and your body to start your day. 10 o'clock is a little late in my world because as we're connected to the sun, we are usually up. Well, we're up every single day at morning sunrise. So we're out, much before 10, but sometimes I don't always get a walk in, like a brisk walk, right? Mm-hmm. So that forward momentum even tells your body that you're doing stuff, you're going somewhere in life. If you think about how sedentary a lot of people are, that's not moving your body in a forward motion, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I learned that from Mel Robbins. I'm not sure, somebody along the way. I'm always gathering information and, kind of compiling it and then using it in my own process, in my own, stacking my morning, just my morning routine. I don't like to call it a routine because it's never a routine for me. I'm always doing something different, but honestly, moving forward in that way. And if you can get, your heart rate up a little bit and getting out in the morning sunlight, man, you're just you're now stacking, and with a pet, you're stacking oxytocin, you're stacking, building your hormone, a cascade of hormones for the rest of the day. Because when you get out in the morning sunlight, that programs your brain through the hypothalamus to the pituitary to create melatonin 14 to 16 hours later. Isn't that, our bodies are so intricately designed to work with the sun. And I learned that. I was just oh my God, how come nobody ever taught me this?
Right. And most people don't. It's now thanks to companies like yours and different influencers and doctors, they're talking about it more and more. But I feel like this information was just not out there unless you were lucky enough to learn from somebody like Jack Cruz or somebody like that, right? Where you were kind of early on in the game. But for the most part, I can't believe that this is not something that you talk about with your doctor.
Seriously, it's crazy. And we did study with Jack Cruz down in Mexico back in, was it 2019, maybe 2018? Yeah, that was pretty intense. We were down there for a week, just learning from him and standing on the beach with all the other crazy biohackers in their cool tan swimsuits. And one funny side note, there was a guy down there. He's kind of a famous biohacker, and he was wearing a G-string, and I was interesting. I was okay, it's a little much, but
oh my gosh, that's so funny. But you guys are really early on in the game. It was technically less than 10 years ago, but I feel like the landscape of health and what we believe is helping us get healthy has changed tremendously over the last few years.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so for me, I have a 4-year-old and he's a little bit slow moving in the mornings. So what I do, and I don't know if this is enough, but what I'll do is I'll open a window that is sun facing
Yeah.
and I'll read a book with him first thing when we wake up. So it's usually we're sitting there for like 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, and just like basking in the morning sun through the screen. So I wish we could go on like quick walks right away, but I know that's going to start like a whole thing with
Yeah.
him. So we get slow moving. And do you think this is something that moms can do in the morning if it feels too much to go outside first thing with the kiddos?
For sure. I missed it. Did you say that the window's open?
Oh, it's open. It's fully
Okay.
open, no matter how cold it is.
I mean, number one, opening the blinds, that's huge, but the window does block all of the infrared, frequencies, and then half of the red frequencies. So a lot of people, I get that question all the time. People are like, oh, but I sit by a window and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but it's like that truck driver thing. I don't know if you listen to the Alex Clark podcast with Bethany from Primally Pure. And she talks about like the truck driver who has like aging on one side of his face from being in the sunlight because it's the wrong frequency. It's the wrong light. It's blocking out those healing frequencies. So yes, you are doing absolutely everything right. Make sure that window's open, getting in fresh air. I mean, that's just huge, right? And if you can't get outside, like don't stress about it. You know what I mean? Stressing about all that stuff is worse than the thing.
Yeah.
But everybody is in a different season of their life, right? And I remember like with my kids, I mean, I did whatever I could to get them outside anytime. Just, just being outdoors more and more is the best.
Yeah.
But if you can start them earlier, like what I know now, I wish I would have known then, right? If you can start them earlier, because a baby's circadian rhythm really comes in between 2 to 3 months, or was it 3 or 4 months? I think it's 3 or 4 months. And so like when they're, just born, obviously use your intuition on that, but really starting them early of getting them used to the light and then the pure dark. We always talk about too, like absolute darkness. My husband trained his kids to not be afraid of the dark, and it totally worked. And if you keep lights on in your kids' bedrooms, they're gonna have a propensity, they could not like feel comfortable in a really dark room later in life or later. Yeah. So
how did he train them?
By keeping them in when they were newborns, it would be blackout room, no blinky lights, no tech in the bedroom either. There's so much to unpack with all of this because there's so much new technology. And honestly, like a lot of times, like if you see something that's smart or the owlet, I haven't tested that. Do you know what I'm talking about? That little owlet?
Yeah, it's that little bracelet. Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, common sense, right? It's like, okay, but like now you're microwaving your kid to keep it safe. Like, I just don't know. I haven't, like I said, I haven't tested it. I'm sure there's a woman, August, I can't remember her last name, from Tech Wellness. She tests a lot of the baby monitors. She has like the only safe baby monitor on the market. It's kind of pricey, but you can just use a security camera too, just as long as it's hardwired. But if your device has wireless and it says no Wi-Fi and it says low Wi-Fi, they have to use a signal somehow. And usually it's just a different radio frequency, and radio frequency, you guys, RF, it actually is a microwave frequency. And the microwave runs off the same frequency as your Wi-Fi router. It's 2.45 gigahertz. So if you go look in your microwave, hopefully you don't have a microwave or use it. But like I said, we can go down, how many rabbit holes you want. The microwave, you open it up and it says the frequency is 2.45 gigahertz. And then go look at your router, 2.45 gigahertz. So what you're really doing is microwaving anything around those devices. So my advice would be like, if you have to have your baby monitor in the baby's room, keep it like distance is key. Keep it as far away from the baby as possible.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can hard connect the security camera. So a Ring camera, you can just get one of those, make sure it doesn't say wireless on it. And then it's inconvenient though. That's the part that a lot of people get tripped up on. Like, we're all hard connected. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm hard connected even outside. We don't have Wi-Fi in our house, so you hard connect and run a cord to your router to make the camera work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most homes have like the Ethernet ports. So
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal
Yep.
to get it done. It's just about getting the actual wire.
Yeah.
And I had one of those wireless cameras for my son. It was one that was lower EMF, they said, and I trusted it for the longest time. But then I started to put two and two together, kind of like, why is he waking up so groggy? Like, why is he being so moody? And I noticed when I took it out and I stopped just using it,
Yeah.
he was a different kiddo. So I
Ah,
tested it then with my little device, my
dang.
EMF, and yeah, it was pretty high in EMF. So it's just you can't trust the marketing of these companies.
No.
Unfortunately, you have to make sure that you're getting it from a trusted source and do your
Yep.
own research if you're ever
Yep.
unsure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I did some research on it, and I was on Amazon, and I'm like, oh, it's like low EMF, and it says like what you're saying, like all these greenwashing words. And we look further, we look at the specifications, we're like, well, then how does it work? Like if it's putting off a wireless signal, it's going through your body, right? And that's not biologically compatible with a human body. Like it's causing your body stress. And
Yes.
like you were just saying, like that's an amazing testimony, because like, some, I guess, it affects people differently too, right? Some
Yes.
people are like, oh, it doesn't bother me and blah, blah. But honestly, most women and most children are much more susceptible. Wait, is that, what word is that?
Susceptible? I don't know. I'm like the I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got it.
I think you
Yes,
got
susceptible.
it. To the EMF and to light, actually. And even like the cell phone studies, they're
Yeah.
done on a man, a male, right? Basically, it's a mannequin, and they put like a water base component in the mannequin's head. And after 6 minutes, I think it's 6 minutes on the phone, the temperature of that water raises 1 degree. After holding the phone, it's like 5 inches away from the head. And the mannequin is like 6 foot tall, 200 pound, like military dude. They never test this stuff on women or children. And then when you look at the rate of how much, like if you were to hold your phone up to your head, how much that radiation goes into like the male skull. It's like here, it's like, well, people listening on podcasts, it's like maybe a quarter of the way through from where the phone is being held. And for
Mhm.
women, you guys, it's like it's even further. It's like halfway. And for kids, it's 3/4 of the way. And it's like nobody's testing this stuff, because it's
No.
all part of the collusion, right? Of the FCC. And everybody who's on the board of the FCC is a lawyer. They're not even scientists. They're
Oh my gosh.
they're
Right.
not bringing forth the actual danger of what these
No.
technologies are actually creating in the body. And once you start looking into it, you're like, my God, it's everywhere, right? So the more that you can mitigate, the more that you can keep yourself in a green space in nature. That's why nature is so profound for the human biology, right? I mean, it's really important.
I think it
Yeah.
mitigates some of the effects of the EMFs, right? Like the
Oh,
second you get outside, you take your laptop out there and it's
oh
like a
yeah.
different environment completely.
Absolutely. And like when you're in the forest is actually giving off essential oils. We had a friend who actually healed, I think it was like a lymphoma cancer situation that he had, and he went into the woods and this is dramatic, but he went into the woods and spent the night like in a hammock out in Oregon every Thursday night and into Friday, and he like healed himself. And he's also cold swimming in the Willamette River.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is just so profound. It's
Yeah.
so profound. And unfortunately, that information you have to seek out there. But meanwhile, this is how our ancestors lived. This is how our biology evolved to be, right? So what
Right.
we're doing is we're just trying to get back there,
Yeah.
away from all this like crazy technology that they clearly
Yeah.
are not telling us the truth about.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
and most of this stuff, you guys, is free. Like you don't have to spend all this money on this stuff, right? You spend all this money on all these like outlet and the tools and all the things, but it's like just go outside and go barefoot and get in the sun. Like it's
Yes,
easy.
yes, that's it. And you're gonna feel like $1,000,000 when you do. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Um,
then, I always say too, like, do the free stuff first, Lena. And that way people
yeah.
can really lean in and see like, what does morning sunlight do for me? How do I feel? Like gauge how you used to feel, and then do it for a while. Don't do it just one day and be like, oh, that didn't work for me. But like do it consistently. And that's the thing. It's like it builds, right? And so then your body gets used to waking up with the sun, no matter like what time it is and
Right.
where you are. You don't even, I don't use an alarm clock. I'm in this phase of my life. I don't need an alarm clock. But if I tested this out. I didn't try to test it out, but I was in my friend's, like her mom's cabin in Iowa 2 summers ago. And she put me in a room, like my bedroom had no windows. It was like the middle basement room, and it just had these sliding doors, and they shut, and it was just pure black. It was like the best, for sleeping. It was like a little cave. And my body woke up with no light around me at sunrise because my body knows that I get up at sunrise. I was like, whoa, it's so cool.
Yeah. That's
Isn't
amazing.
that fun?
Yeah, it's so profound. So let's talk about like postpartum moms a little bit as they're trying to heal and they're trying to kind of white knuckle through the postpartum period because maybe they're exhausted, anxious, maybe they're not feeling like themselves, right?
Yeah.
And they're told it's just hormones, it's just part of it. But is there a light and circadian component to how quickly or how slowly a woman's hormones recover after birth that we're completely overlooking here?
I mean, I haven't specifically looked into that, but when you're saying this stuff, my inner tuning fork is like, oh my God, right? My women's intuition is like, this sounds like the best thing. Had I known this, I wish I had I had really bad postpartum. I was really young though, and like in a bad situation. So like, I think there's so many components that come into play, right? Like I was in a bad situation that compiles your safety, because I feel like a lot of that is built around safety, right? And I'm always talking to you about like the male container and how women are so vulnerable in those phases of life, from conception to pregnancy to postpartum and early, like early child rearing, basically. And having a safe male container around you is like really profound. And I think that can make, like foundationally, that can make a huge difference. So, like if you're younger and you're listening to this and you haven't had kids yet, like set yourself up for a really strong male container provider. I wish I had been taught that. I wish I had known that. But here we are through the trials and tribulations, resilient, strong women, right? Teaching other young women. And of course, like I always teach this stuff. Everything I'm learning about male containment, I teach my daughter. So like making sure all this information is directly passed to the next generation, because like my mom didn't teach me that, and I'm pretty sure her mom didn't teach her that. And so we're like the cycle breakers. That's what,
In so many ways. This
so,
entire trauma generation.
Seriously.
It's a lot of work, but it's amazing that we're here.
Yeah, we came here to do this hard work, and obviously it came into our world, for a reason. But I feel like it's not just for us, it's for us to now pass. And I love the 7th generation thing, right? Like 7 generations down the line. And I actually tell my daughter, I'm like, and you make sure that you tell your children this, right? So it just keeps going on so we can break that cycle. But as far as postpartum goes, I would get out in the sunlight as much as possible. You guys, I mean, whenever we get a question in, because my husband's like the circadian expert, I get a lot of people reaching out and saying, hey, I have depression really bad. And I'll go to Thaddeus and I'll be like, Thaddeus, what's your recommendation? And he'll say, get outside. It's so
unnecessarily complicated. Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. Like don't get a sad light if you're, using those sad lights too. Like they're too much blue light. And
sad lights. It's so true.
Yeah. It's I mean, they may have worked before everybody was on the screen. Everybody was on a computer and a phone. But honestly, getting outside, it's the amount of lux in the atmosphere that makes a difference. And we're talking like a couple thousand to a couple 100,000. So even if it's cloudy, Lena, even if it's thunderstorming, even if it's snowing, it doesn't matter. That lux is still in the hundreds of thousands. And that's what your pineal, your pituitary, they all have light sensors on them, and your eyes. Right? So your eyes are reading the blue light. It's waking you up. Blue light isn't like evil, right? It's just that we have too much of it. So the antidote to blue light is red and infrared. So the red light panels, that's kind of like what we recommend instead of a sad light, we recommend getting up before sunrise and getting in front of one of the red light panels to like energize. It's like re-energizes your batteries. I mean, there's so many benefits to red light therapy. I use a red light therapy mask on my face every single morning. I'm in my meditation. I'm laying on a crystal mat and I'm like stacking all these biohacks. It's so fun.
That's so cool.
So.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to do that as moms, right? Because we don't have time to do everything. But when you can stack it like that, it's like, it's perfect.
And 10 minutes. Like I get up and I make sure I get at least 10 minutes up to 30. And, you know, every day I that's the one non-negotiable is like I meditate every single morning because I know the benefit of setting myself up for that day. And the other non-negotiable is no matter if I'm in a meditation or what I'm doing in my morning routine, if it's a 5-minute morning deal or 10-minute, or if it's 5 hours, the minute the sun rises, I get outside. I break that routine. It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing. I get outside.
Okay. So you wouldn't do the red light panel before getting outside?
No, you in the winter, like it's different for everybody because like where you are geographically matters, right?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
So I mean in the summer you don't need it because there's so much red and infrared in the sky. So we don't hardly ever use the red. We have like a room that we kind of a closet that we go in, but in the winter the sun doesn't rise until like 8:30 here. And it sets at 4:30. So we use that to like, it's a supplement. You guys, light is like I mean it's like a drug, but it's also a supplement, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that, you know, I heard Thaddeus recently talk about too is like you can't out supplement a bad light environment. Isn't that interesting?
That's so profound. Yes, you really can't.
I was like, wow. I mean, it's like the fishbowl thing. I don't know if you guys know the fishbowl metaphor, but like you're in the fishbowl and you're trying to like give the fish like the best organic food and like all the supplements and all the things. But if the fishbowl is contaminated, right, with EMF and junk light, you're just feeding for nothing, right? I mean, it all adds up, but think about the light environment as that water in the fishbowl.
Exactly. So this actually makes me think about schools in my area because when kids who are in preschool through elementary school, a lot of them go to school as early as 7:30, and that's all year round. And sometimes they're getting on that bus like after 6 a.m. in the morning, you know, it's still dark out and they're going in. And, you know, recess is probably not as popular outside as it is in the summer. How do you think that's affecting their health? How do you think it's affecting their focus and their ability to learn?
Well, okay, couple things. So one, that was definitely me, right? I mean, we're resilient, first of all, right? And we can tolerate a lot. However, like we don't want to be just normal. This is one of the things like we really learned from the biohacking community is like we want to be optimal, right? And so what I understood now, and like you see the videos, sorry, a big breeze just came up here.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm like blowing in the wind.
I know. I have like a Marilyn Monroe moment right here. I love it.
Okay, what was I saying? We've seen videos of children's behavior when they have the fluorescent lights on, right, in the classroom, and then you turn them off and you see the behavior. Because there's so many studies, there's so many experiments people are doing with this stuff. It's common sense, right? And they do it for a reason. We can go down a conspiracy rabbit hole, but it's all to create obedience and suggestibility to the human.
Yeah.
And really the best thing that you can do, and I'm very opinionated about this, is homeschool your kids and stay home with your kids. Like, don't send them. If I were to do it all over again, I would never send them to an institution. And I had to. I was a single mom like for 12 years. And I'm like, I don't have choices, right? So what I do before and after is I would unschool them. So I'm a big unschooler person. So I would unschool them and teach them like all this stuff. Like they knew that bringing, you know, like any ultra processed junk food into my home is contraband. Like I would say very vehemently, do you see any of that in our house? Right? Like, no, we don't buy it. We don't eat it. We don't eat it when we're out of the house either. Like really being that squeaky wheel and saying, this is not what we do. Right. So I unschooled them before and after school. Anytime you're in a car with a child, it's a captive audience. And you guys, really, everybody's fighting for their attention. And the school, I've heard this one, I can't remember what it was, a podcast or something. They were talking about how all through their, like probably starting in middle school, well, actually starting in elementary school, all the way through their 12-year education into college, the idea is to undermine the family and undermine the parent. And it's heartbreaking because you want to believe in the system, right? But it's not designed for human optimal health. Obviously, I mean, the food, between the light, the food, like what you're saying, like the whole environment is not conducive to life or biology. There are like Waldorf schools, there are, charter schools and all kinds of other people that are bucking the system. But honestly, undermining the parent is the goal. So then they become suggestible in the workplace and do more work, right? And I don't want to go too far into that conspiracy of that, but if you think about it, like no one's going to take better care of your child than you. And so do what you can, right? And if you have the luxury of homeschooling them or sending them to like farm school or some type of school that's really focused outdoors. I remember one time a lady told me, she has a charter school. We live near St. Paul, Minneapolis in the Twin Cities area. And they had a charter school, and I was asking her some questions and she said, no, we can't let the kids climb any trees and like whatever. And I'm like, well, really? And like, the school was kind of like an outdoor focused school. And I was like, oh, they're out climbing trees and they're doing whatever. She's like, no, our lawyers won't let them do that. And I'm like,
right. So what's the purpose of this? Yes.
I'm like, what? Just keep them at home and teach them like cool shit.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. I'm really lucky because my son goes to a nature preschool that's local here. And they're going on their little walks in nature and they hikes. By the time they're done with their school year, they can hike up to like 3 miles and they're learning about the environment. So I love everything about it except for their snacks, because like, can we just transfer what you're doing with their environment into the snacks too? Because why are we having goldfish today? And I send a substitute snack because they send me the meal plan, and I'll substitute everything I want because sometimes they have stuff that are okay. But I'm like, we're almost there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, but very lucky. He's like a different kiddo. The way he blossomed going there, because he used to be a little bit more clumsy, unsure, kind of like withdrawn. And I feel like being in nature is so many, because he spends about 4 hours every morning in that school, like it helped his development so much. And of course, part of it is aging, part of it is him, but I know he's in the right environment to do that.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. I mean, that is just like the best testament, right? And when you can see that difference, it's like that's night and day. And I mean, why don't more parents do that? But I think also like, there's a lot of consolations that are made and conveniences. And it's like, well, I mean, I chose to not get remarried for a while so I could focus on my kids. But I also like didn't drive a big fancy car and I didn't live in a huge house, and like I made do with what I had because I knew that I wanted to spend more time with my kids. And I can tell like where my kids are at as far as developmental and emotional intelligence, like all the things I'm teaching, I make sure I teach them. I've said that before. I can't reiterate that enough. But you got to be the squeakiest wheel or somebody else is going to be, either their friends or, the institution. And I mean, their level of just confidence and self-esteem and able to talk to people, like so many kids these days, they can't even, I mean, they're just like, right? Like they're stuck in their phones.
Yeah.
And their peers, I'm just like, once in a while, another kid will come around that they'll gravitate to that can talk to adults. It's just crazy. It's like these people can't talk to adults anymore. Yeah. Like it blows my mind.
Kids don't even say hi anymore. This is something that really bothers me because I live in like a really cute neighborhood. We go on walks. Kids are luckily here. There are a lot of kids who play outside. Nice. But like, I just feel like, okay, it's so different. When I was growing up, when I saw an adult walking around, like I was taught you have to be respectful, you have to say hi, look them in the eyes. And I'm not saying go in their van and eat their candy, but like, be respectful, just say hi. And I just don't see that anymore. And I just feel like the society has changed so much with the values and with their social skills, right?
Well, I think skills. Yeah, I mean, it's very fear-based, right? Like, don't let your kids outside, don't let them do
Yeah.
whatever. And also, like there's some parenting issues that are happening,
Yeah.
and parents are really not. I mean, it's unfair because all of a sudden our whole society has thrown all these phones, right?
Yeah.
And they're labeled safe, and it's like, what family plan do you want? And there's all this marketing. You guys, you really got to be careful about all the
Yes.
marketing stuff, because it's all by design to keep
Hmm.
the family like not a solid unit, because when the family's together and there's strong communities, there's strong people, right? And then that's where you build strong men, and that's where you build resilient, beautiful women. But you tear the family apart, now people are suggestible, and they look for vices, and there's all this nefarious stuff that goes down. So knowing that, now you're aware of that, right? And you can see it in the society. And I don't think anybody has like resolution for it, but it's like, what can you do? And that's what I always teach moms is like, you're the mama duck. Like, everybody in your family, this is what you can do to change the tone of your home. Is like, you're the mama duck. Everybody will follow what you do. And if your husband isn't on board, like, you just do the thing. I have a friend who has a husband who's like scoffs at all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what do I do? I'm like, you just do it yourself, and you take care of your business and with you. And pretty soon you're going to be shining your light so brightly that other people are going to start noticing, and they're going to be like, well, hey, what are you doing? You don't have to go around shouting it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what
No.
I did. I started working on myself. I did the inner
Yeah.
work. I do the meditation, I'd get in the sunlight, and I'm just like, I'm happy and I'm thriving and optimal. And my kids are healthy and like awesome, and they're all entrepreneurs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just like, they're so proud of them, and they're either entrepreneurs or they're doing something that they're really passionate about,
Yeah.
and they're all in like their 20s, and I'm
Magical.
like,
Amazing.
oh my God, like, I
Yeah.
taught them that,
Such a
and
good
they all
thing.
hike, and they're always out in nature, Lena, and all their friends are sitting on tech in basements, and their parents are letting it happen. I know parents that let like grown ass adults. Am I allowed to swear in here? Sorry.
You can do whatever you want on
Okay. I swear for
here.
emphasis. Grown ass adult children in the basement playing video games all hours of the night. They're afraid to turn their Wi-Fi off for their own health because their kids will get mad. And I'm like,
No. I
what?
know.
Who's
What is
the
happening?
parent? Yeah, who's the parent here? Like, I don't mean this to be like a soapbox of parenting, but you
No.
guys, like, take back control of your home and your family and your kids and what they're doing, and like you said, and what they're eating. Send them snacks. Say it's not okay,
Mhm.
right? Like, that food is it's not food.
It's not food.
No.
It's not food. It's making things worse, right? Everybody has this sort of bucket of tolerance for how much toxicity they can have. And when we keep adding in, whether it's a goldfish, whether it is Wi-Fi on at night, whatever it is, for some kids, especially our kids, they have smaller buckets. Like, eventually they're going to overflow, and we're going to create, chronic disease issues, which we are in an epidemic right now. Over like 60% of kids have some kind of chronic disease, whether it's diagnosed or not. They're having issues, whether it is picky eating, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just our kids are not getting healthier, they're getting sicker.
Yeah.
So it's important as Mama Duck, and I love that analogy that you teach, you get to decide, you get to talk to this school and say like, no, I don't want that, I want this. Like, you get to set the rules around your family, and it's important to take your power back.
Absolutely. 10 years ago, my daughter was in like a reading class because she wasn't quite reading very well. And I went in one day and I was sitting with them, and I was like, because I just like to go check up on them, right? Because I was like, I didn't want to send them in the first place. So I'm going to be there as much as possible.
Yeah.
And the school that my kids went to was like 1 block from my house. So I would show up and I'd be like reading with them, and I'd be like, oh, how's this going? Like, she was kind of teaching me like what to focus on, whatever. And then I found out she was freaking rewarding her with sugar. And I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. You're giving her sugar. You're trying to get her to focus and read. And I'm like, no. And this, Lena, this was before I was even in this biohacking world in circadian world. I was like, I just knew that was not the right thing to do. I was like, give her a sticker. I was like, no more.
Yeah.
And the lady kind of looked at me like, oh, how dare you, like, tell me what to do.
God.
I'm like,
well, I'm the mom. I'm the boss.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
not
like,
the boss.
I'm like, she can't have like treats as sugar anymore. Like just even that
I
concept is like,
know.
okay, now you're feeding that
Very
reward
articulate.
system, the
Yeah.
dopamine, right?
She can't focus. She can't
Yeah.
understand what she's reading. Like, wow.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
boy.
and they're under the fluorescent lights. I would always,
Well, yeah.
whenever I would go, because I used to substitute teach too.
I was
And I
going to
would,
ask you about that story. Yes, please. Please
well,
tell
would turn off the lights and I'd just be like, you guys, let's go outside as much as we could. And this, like I said, before I even knew this stuff, I just intuitively knew that. But I actually got fired from the high school because I took the kids outside.
You went against
And
the system. How dare you?
how
Oh
dare
my
you take
gosh.
those kids out in the sunshine? And
Oh
I
my.
mean, and their reason was that I wasn't following the protocol the teacher left, behind, which I wasn't. I was like, screw
Right.
that. Like this is I was
Yeah.
like, I looked at it and I was like, this is so stupid. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's such a waste of time, the crap that they're learning. I remember one class I went in and they wanted me to show this video. So I started showing the video. This was like eighth graders. And they were talking about GMO corn
Oh my
and
God.
how good it is and like how it's
What?
feeding family. I'm like,
Oh,
I turned it off. I was like, I
yeah.
can't. I go, do you guys want to learn about some cool stuff?
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
you're the type of teacher we should have in schools. Like, this is
right?
exactly what we should be learning. But unfortunately, that's
Yeah.
typically not the case because
Well,
you're,
and
yeah.
it's interesting too because I would do like social experiments on the kids, and I'd be like, "Well, what do you guys want to learn about?" And they're like, "Well, how did you like? How do you, blah blah?" They would ask me questions about my life, and I was a artist at the time, and they're like, "Well, what do you do?" Like they asked me like what I was doing, and I'm like, "Well, I weld. I'm a welder, and I make garden art, and I'm an artist, and I have this crazy creative background and a photographer." And they're like, "That's so cool. Like, how did you get into it?" And they start just going off with questions and
Yeah.
their minds start blossoming. You can just feel it, in the
Yeah.
air. And they're like, we learned more from you in one day than we have with this teacher all year. I don't mean to pick on
Right.
teachers, you guys. Caveat, like I love teachers. Like you guys always do like what you can. I don't want to backpedal because I have a stance on that, right? There are magnificent rogue teachers that are in the system doing the things that I used to do as a substitute. But everybody's got a role here, and I think that just getting the kids outside and you can infiltrate the institution.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Well, I love that story so much. And I really do think that, for some teachers, they don't even realize,
Yeah.
like, hey, maybe this is not what I should, maybe I can put my own spin on this. Like,
Right.
maybe I can leverage like going outside more because they're learning about the circadian rhythm and they weren't aware. But I really want to talk about kids with developmental disabilities and special needs or medical complexities because that is the population I have worked with a lot. And many of them spend majority of their times indoors in suboptimal lighting, surrounded by EMFs without easy access to going outdoors. And sometimes that's because of their medical disability and it's hard to get them out because they might have a ventilator or oxygen, whatever it is that is really keeping them back, right? But what should parents be prioritizing for these kids? Where do you even start?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like starting point is like really looking at the diet too. Like what are they consuming on a daily basis? I know that gluten and those spikes, that spike your glucose, and it's worse than sugar. And so getting kids off of gluten, and for glyphosate reasons, it's not just the gluten, it's like a double whammy, right? Every piece of wheat in this country is sprayed with glyphosate. So we're glyphosate free, we're gluten free, but we do eat our own homemade sourdough.
Yeah.
So that's gluten, right? But it's sprouted. And so we follow wise traditions, ancestral way of eating seasonally and eating, very carnivorous, omnivorous diet. But really look at the diet that you're giving them, because that one change, Lena, can really make a huge difference. I've heard so many parents be like, the minute I took him off of gluten, he was like a different child, right? And then look at, so like really look at the diet and then look at the environment. If your child is spending a lot of time on tech, I mean, that it's the EMF conversation and the light, right? It's like those two things that really are creating this atmosphere of toxicity in the kids' fishbowl. So your environment, so like what food are you giving them? What's your environment? Can you start mitigating some of this stuff. And if you are at a desk and you're in an office, you can supplement your light. You can get one of those old school vintage Edison bulbs, because the amount of light and frequency that comes out of the Edison, making sure it's a tungsten real Edison, because they make mimics of them. They make ones that look like the Edison bulbs, but they're LED. They have LED drivers in them instead of the old school tungsten that heats up. That heating element is pure red and infrared light, and it's in balance. The spectrum looks very close to the sun at noon. So if you look at a spectrum of light, you can go to our website and you can see that chart. It's somewhere on our healthy home lighting guide. And it only works on desktop, by the way, at Dreamwalkerz.ai.
I love it.
But yeah, well, I mean, it's like I really like to show visuals. I'm a very visual person, right? And so once you see like the spectrum of light, sunlight, you guys, has blue, red, all the colors of the rainbow in like the nature's perfect spectrum. The Edison bulb has similar. It's got these healing rays of red and infrared. And if you look at the blue tech, like the blue light that's coming off any computer screen, any phone, any tablet, any TV, right, or an LED bulb, it's got a huge spike of blue light and no red and infrared. So it's giving off the most toxic to a human biology spectrum, or basically frequency, and it's not giving you the healing frequencies. So what I did is I was experimenting with this, and I went down to our local vintage shop, because I like visiting antique stores and vintage stuff and whatever. So I found this really cool, like old school, it's like this kind of lipstick pink desk lamp, and it's like just short, whatever. And I put a Edison bulb in it, and I'm like, and I measured we're nerds, we have a spectrometer. So I measured the light coming into my office. I measured the screen. I held it up to the screen. It had a big spike of blue light. And then I held it in the ambient light when I had the Edison bulb on, and it was in a perfect spectrum. It had red and infrared. So you can use those Edison bulbs as a supplement, and your kid wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be giving them a better light environment.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny that all the drivers in all the tech have no healing frequencies? Like, I mean, by design, right? So really supplementing and looking at that environment, and that's just an easy fix. You know what I mean? And that's why they tried to ban the Edison light bulbs, or the incandescent light bulbs.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. I know. They're not trying to make us healthy.
No.
And
I was gonna say, even Harvard Health has like documentation on how toxic blue light at night. So this is the other piece of it. So like during the day, put on the Edison bulb, you get all those beautiful, red and infrared rays. If you can't get them outside, like outside is always the best. Always getting out for, people used to take smoke breaks. We talk about sunshine breaks, morning sunlight, getting out for sunshine breaks as much as possible. Spend as much time in the grass, grounding, barefoot. And I know a lot of kids that probably wouldn't tolerate that, especially if they're on the spectrum, or have special needs. But even just some of the sunlight, and it doesn't have to be direct sunlight, like you can be in the shade. You're getting ambient light of all the perfect rays of nature, as our biology was meant to. Right. We spend 95% of our time indoors as Americans.
Yeah.
95.
It's crazy.
That's not gonna, I mean, look what's happening, right?
And our body thinks we're at war when we're like literally.
You're constantly between the ultra processed junk food, so getting rid of that, take it all out of your house. Don't even have it, don't even have it available. And I mean, we all make concessions, but when you were talking about that earlier with the ultra processed food, is like, well, it's cumulative, right? And the EMF builds up. It's the same thing when you walk across carpet and you touch something metal. We've all had that happen to us. What happens? You get shocked. You know why? Because that positive charge is building up in your body, and it has to dump into that. It grounds it. So it takes it out of your body. So that's what's actually happening in your body. So when you go outside and you're barefoot on the grass and not turf, and you can ground on concrete, you can't ground on asphalt, but you can ground on, just actual grass and tiles grounding, and you're actually dumping all that positive charge of EMF. So simple, easy, free, right? Get kids outside barefoot, grounded if possible. eliminate the ultra processed junk food. I just saw a post that was Alex Clark, and she was talking about the chicken nuggets that someone called. Did you see that at all on Instagram?
No, I didn't see
No.
it yet. Yeah.
Um, some lady called up this. It was like organic chicken nuggets, and it didn't have seed oils on the label. And the lady called and said, "Well, what did you fry them in before you packaged them?" And they're like, "It's canola oil or whatever it was." And they're like, "They don't have to list it." I mean, it's just like on and on and on and on. Make home cooked meals. Cook
Yes.
your own food, right? Eat
I,
food that has
yeah.
one ingredient, the food.
Yes. Yes.
And
Meal
you
prep when you can. Meal
yeah,
prep when you can. And for those families who are picky and it's hard to get kids to eat different things, my first suggestion to these families is always like just your light environment. Change your light environment because that's going to start to influence them so positively. Then later you can start worrying about the food more because you're going to stack these habits that are going to push you in the right direction and are going to take care of some of these tendencies. So yeah, there's always a time and place for it, but I think the ultimate goal is just that, like
right.
just home cooked meals, not having to worry about the labels because like you said, like they don't even have to list these things. And the same with like our home products and these fragrances that have
Oh,
like 3,000 ingredients in them. Like they can get away with so much with what goes on the label, including our clothing.
yeah,
Like to me, it blows my mind. Like you're buying 100% cotton, but it doesn't tell you what chemicals they were washed in
right,
and
right,
they're part of this clothing because they don't have to disclose these things.
right.
So it's just so important as mama ducks to be aware of this and really try and clean up the environment because then once you take things out of your child's bucket, they're
Yeah,
going to start to heal naturally from whatever they're dealing with.
yeah. And I think, there's a couple things that we don't think about too, is like all those candles, the
Yeah.
soy candles. Like I read a book, even our animals can't tolerate that. They get sick in those environments. And my mom has a friend who's had migraines for 50 years. So she's 80 now. She still has migraines. And my mom said every time she walks into her house, she's got one of those Bath and Body Works
Oh
like
no, the
candles
Yankee
going.
candles.
And she's like, it's like, how do you not know like that at this
Right.
juncture?
I feel like sometimes you're just so far gone, like you don't even make these connections. But
Right.
there is a consequence to
Yeah,
all of these products. Whether it shows
absolutely.
up right away,
Yeah,
you might see it a few days later sometimes.
right.
So that's why we have to be detectives and figure it out and hopefully clean up our environment where we don't have to worry about it.
Totally. And that goes for, I mean, whatever your environment is as mom, right? Your kids have to live in. So when you just start cleaning up your environment, that's what I'm saying, like do it for yourself first, right? And start looking at all the things, small steps. Like I don't like to overwhelm people either, right? I'm very opinionated about these things in the world, but I did them in small increments. And once you start becoming aware, now it starts to blossom on its own. It takes its own natural course,
Yeah.
right? And now your kids are just automatically going to be in a better environment. You don't
Right.
stock that stuff in the house. You don't buy pop. You don't buy
Right.
soda, whatever. And also, one thing we forget as well, like I live in this neighborhood, and we're the like there's two people that walk their dogs, and I know that there are animals in every single house on this block. I never see them out walking
Goodness.
their animals. Your animals are as healthy as you are. And if
Yeah.
you're inside and you're constantly watching TV, eating junk food, your animal is going to be just as sick. And so are the people around you. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so think about not, I mean, so many people are so into their animals. I don't mean to keep bringing it back to that, but
Yeah.
people
No,
love their
it's
pets.
important.
I love
Yeah.
my dog. He gives me so much oxytocin.
Yes, yes. Well, I was even
And
going to ask you about that.
yeah.
Right. So, do you think their light exposure is just as important for them to be healthy as it is for us?
I mean, they have to be. How can Lena? How can it not be, right? Like
Right.
if you go to the zoo, they're trying to recreate an environment for the animal that's like what would be their species, specific, and they're probably not getting it right at their light environment. They're trying to do like the fake rocks, and like I always feel bad for all the zoo animals. And I'm a big fan of the rescues, but the
Yes.
zoo, not my favorite. I just believe like
Mhm.
animals should be in the wild and
Mhm.
back to nature, right? Not
Yeah.
as a spectacle, but like looking at the light environment, of course, they've got the right light environment for amphibians. They've got the black lights, right, in all those, cages and stuff. But people don't think about like their animals. My dog comes outside with me every morning at sunrise because I'm like, you're coming with me. And
Yeah.
now he just gravitates. He's just like, yep, this is what we do. It's our routine. It's our habit. So creating that habit now is just instilling that further, in deeper grooves in the brain, right? And now it's just
Yeah.
automatic.
Yeah. And our dogs are descendants of wolves, right?
Yeah,
Where do
right.
wolves, where are wolves? They're in the forest. They're not in
Yeah,
a house 24/7. Like they
yeah,
really need to be out there and eating a species appropriate diet as well.
absolutely. I just saw a documentary. Have you seen Pet Fooled?
I have not actually.
We just watched it the other night. I have a couple things that I didn't appreciate about it, but it was for the
Mhm.
most part very enlightening. If you're still feeding your pet like that dried kibble,
Oh
you will
gosh.
probably stop if you watch that. I'm not sure how to look for it. My husband had it in an email or something, but it's called Pet Fooled, FOOLED instead of Pet
I've heard of
Food.
it. Yes.
Yeah. There was some parts that I couldn't watch. He was just like covering my eyes because I can't. I don't watch trauma. I don't
Yeah.
traumatize my subconscious mind.
It's so smart. I don't like it either. I
Yeah.
wonder if it's like a woman thing. Like I just get so heightened, I
Yeah.
can't look. Or
Well,
just like sensitive
for
people.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not like part of, like I feel like we've kind of gotten like probably too far from our feminine, like
Yes.
prowess. And so like that's not our job. And
Right.
I don't mean to like, pigeonhole people, but I mean
No.
that's like my cat brought a baby bunny yesterday and like showed it
Oh,
off in on the porch yesterday, and I was just like traumatized, I'm just like,
yeah.
"Ooh," and I'm like, wait a minute, okay, you're resilient, but you're sensitive. It's not your place. Like, just go get Thaddeus, and he'll take care of it because like they're tough for a reason. Men have three
Right.
walls around their hearts. Did you know
Hmm.
that?
No.
They have, yeah. I learned this early on from some cool teacher on, I don't know, online. And she was like, men, because that's like it's hard to get to their hearts, and us women are just like open hearted, most of us, unless we have a lot of trauma, obviously, and there's walls built up. But men have three walls that, because that's what they can do those things because they have the wall built up, and that benefits us. A
Mhm.
lot of times, maybe feminist type people look at that and go, well, he's toxic male, or he's, labeled in different ways or stereotyped, and it's like, no, like they need that. Like our ancestors needed that to go kill, right? An
Yeah.
animal and bring it back to his family. The women would be out like picking berries and foraging and doing all the other things with their hands, and
Mhm.
creating that actually creates oxytocin when you do
It's
things like,
amazing.
when you're,
Wow.
yeah, when you're sewing, when you're knitting, when you're like putting things together with little like berry picking, basket weaving, that kind of like indigenous type stuff, crafting, I guess I would say,
Yeah.
it builds oxytocin. And so is this. So being in community with women builds oxytocin, touching your pet, like kissing you. But it's not our job really to go kill or deal with those things because our
Right.
folks
Or go
are,
hunt. Right. That's not how we,
yeah,
yeah. I love, I think you're familiar with her, Mary Reddick.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I love Mary's teaching
yeah,
so much. And she talks about this a lot in terms of how our roles influence our hormones, right? Because we're getting so far away from this traditional roles as what women would be doing in the home, kind of
yep,
like creating a homestead and
right,
cooking and cleaning. And not to sound anti-feminine,
yeah,
but that is what our biology evolved to do.
right,
And that is what gives us oxytocin. That
exactly,
is what regulates our hormones, being in a community with other women,
yep,
right? And
yep,
men, like these in ancestral tribes that she has visited so many of, like
mhm,
that is these are the roles of the women. And then men go hunting, they give shelter, they create
yep,
these things, and those roles are divided for a reason because it helps us to
right,
function optimally within our biology. And then we're just happy because we're
yeah,
producing all this oxytocin and we're able to be our best selves and in our perfect health. So there's so much truth to it. And I wonder if this like feminine movement and all these things and women go to work, it was created to get us away from
yeah.
the ways that make us healthy as well.
I mean, and I feel like there's a pendulum conversation in that, right?
Yeah.
Like it had to, because maybe, like back in the 50s, I wasn't alive back then, but life probably wasn't so great. or maybe it was, I don't know. Like my grandma died and I wasn't able to really talk to her about that before. She had dementia really bad. And so I don't know, but like I think my mom, it was 1974 before women could even have their own credit card. I was born in 1974. My mom couldn't get a credit card in her name without my dad signing it. So I mean, that pendulum had to swing, right?
Yeah.
And feminists had to like get out there and say no, like that's not fair, and fight for their rights. And I love that. Thank you for your service, right? We should have the same parking space for veterans as feminists.
Right, it's true. That's a good point.
But the pendulum swung too far.
Right.
I'm always like, I always say, like, come back to the middle path. And I love what Mary Ruddick talks about with that. She's such an amazing world traveler and an incredible human. And she's helped so many people. She's just, she's very.
Yes, me including. Like, this is why I love talking about her work so much, because she's helped me heal in so many ways. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I met her through Holistic Hilda.
Yes, Hilda's coming on my podcast later. Like, I love her too.
Yeah, nice. She married me and Thaddeus.
I heard that on Alex's podcast. I was like, what? That's crazy. What a small world.
I know, it's so funny. But honestly, like back to the pendulum thing, like the feminists, they did what they had to do, right, at the time, and then now, I feel like it's maybe headed in the wrong like another direction of like it's gone too far.
It's almost like it's not a feminist movement anymore. It's a masculine movement.
Yeah.
I think, right? Because
even with like some of the influencers, I would say I mean, I don't want to be too specific, but like I see a lot of women that are trying to make their bodies look like men, and like bodybuilding. I think that's really toxic personally. And if you love it and it's your thing, like good for you. But I think that it's not something that is healthy. Like people get confused about that. It's not good for women's hormones. It actually wrecks your hormones. Women are supposed to have fat on their body. And I see, a lot of people that are like super into their, meat suit. And I don't mean to discount our sacred, temple. I like to call it a sacred temple, but like you misconstrue it. And now that pendulum goes too far. And now we look like men and we're just like all chiseled and blah, blah. And like, actually, like if you look at art history, all the women were very feminine and they're very round and our bodies are supposed to look like clouds, like they're beautiful. And whether you have, like the women that didn't have enough fat on their body would perish sooner. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, there's longevity studies that like Dr. Cruz has talked about. And, like if you are really into like building muscle, it's actually in your later life, it actually takes from your brain because your brain needs 40% of the energy that your mitochondria make. And you don't really like bodybuilding and all that stuff and like making your body look super chiseled or starving yourself or that super thin look is very anti-longevity. And longevity is about like eating healthy fat and eating a lot of grass-fed protein and vegetables and fruits and whatever your diet we want your diet to be. I eat pretty intuitively, but I like blending like the bulletproof diet with Dave Asprey with like ancestral nourishing traditions, and I like to nourish my sacred temple. That's what I call it.
I love that. I love that perspective, but I had no idea because there's so much messaging out there right now talking about how muscle is the the organ of longevity, right? You want to build muscle now to be healthier later. So that's so interesting that you say that.
I mean, it's true, but it's like it's both and it's like, yes, you want to remain strong and you do want to build muscle, but I think that there's women out there that are influencers that have too little fat.
Okay.
And then that gets put like on a pedestal. So it's like having the muscle and fat, and that is longevity. And if you want to look at that closer, like study some, be part of Dr. Jack Cruz's membership, because I think he talks about that quite a bit. And I think it's just like, I mean, it can kind of go back to that 1970s Twiggy thing, right? Like this emaciated thing. And I grew up in the 90s, and then they had what was that model, Kate Moss? And she was so anorexic. And it's like, you don't get your cycle. you're just like, you're basically dying. That's what
Right.
you're saying to your body.
Right. Starving
Um,
yourself.
you're starving yourself. And again, you guys, like that pendulum swings so far, and it's like, if you've gone too far, like come back to the middle path, right? That's why I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
I like to have a certain amount of body fat, and then we look at
Right. In a
men.
healthy way, not
Yeah,
being obese, but in a healthy way.
right,
Kind of
right.
like going back to Marilyn Monroe, right? Like Coach
Yes.
Monroe, like
Yeah,
kind of like that, like
yeah,
where sizes 6 and 8 and 10 was celebrated. We're
yes.
not talking about being
Zero.
necessarily obese, but like
Yeah,
a healthy level
right.
that is, something that a woman should have for longevity. Yeah, I love
Absolutely.
that because it's so true. And I think
Yep.
social media is really sending us mixed messages with that as well.
I
So,
do too. I see some of that stuff, the influencers, and I'm kind of like, really? Like, and that's all you focus on is like I said, and then it becomes a meat suit, right? And it's like,
yeah.
well, your focus, and then there's a lot of influencers too, like my age, like I'm perimenopausal, and I'm 51 years old, and I see all this stuff on social media with like, you can look like this in your 50s, and you can look like this in your 60s, and blah blah. And it's like, actually, you know what? Like, our brains are actually get rewired. That's the whole point of menopause, is like your brain is getting rewired, because now you're not in charge of like different cycles of our lives, right? You were supposed to like have babies, take care of babies in that cycle of life. And then you move through that into an altruistic brain. Your brain actually changes in menopause for that reason. So now you don't just help like yourself and your family, you're now more concerned about community. And you notice a lot of women that are in their 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s start doing more activism, start being more community minded. That is what nature actually intended, is for you to not just be focused on like what
So
your
brilliant.
body looks like, but
Mhm.
it's very narcissistic, right?
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like, what is the greater world? What's our environment? Like, what is everybody doing? And now I'm supposed to be thinking about 7 generations and how it's affecting, like the rest of the world. Isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting. And that makes so much sense because that's what women crave when they're having babies is to have that community, to
Right.
have the grandmothers, to have the
Yes.
aunties there
Yep.
helping with that community so they can actually thrive and be the best versions of themselves in this period because it can be very challenging. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Nature just does its thing again and again.
It's always the answer.
Yes.
So if you ever need an answer to a question, sit for 5 minutes in silence, or sit in your lawn, go out to the park, whatever, and sit for 5 minutes, and nature will always bring in the answer,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. This is why I went on my walk before this podcast because I wanted to make sure that I was open to the best conversation I could possibly have
right.
versus sitting on my computer for
Yeah.
half an hour or whatever getting ready, right?
Yep.
It's just a very different setting. So I want to ask you just briefly before we get off. So this question kind of keeps coming up around my friend circle and I'm seeing it online and I feel like there's so much misinformation. Is the sun aging us as women? We want to make sure that, we are always the most beautiful we can be.
Right.
Should we be loading up on SPF and our moisturizer and foundation to protect our skin? Or are we actually getting something wrong about what's causing us to age in the first place?
Yeah, it's such a loaded question.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much that we've been indoctrinated to
Yes.
believe about the sun. Now, a couple things. So the morning sunlight and the light of sunset have, remember what I said, the red and infrared healing rays.
Yes.
There's no UV in the atmosphere at that time. So
Mhm.
you're actually getting red light therapy. Like, we buy all these red light therapy products, right? It's red light therapy, you guys. So getting out in the morning sunlight and in the sunset is actually one of the best things that you can do for your skin.
Yeah.
Now, the question that you're asking is, should we be wearing sunscreen? I feel like that's a very intuitive thing and it's very different for everybody. I've
Mhm.
heard, like Primally Pure Bethany talk about, like, she lets all of her body in the sunlight throughout the day and she'll bathe in the sunlight, but she'll put the SPF on her face or she'll wear a hat. I'm always about clothing over chemicals. I actually have my little sun hat right here.
Oh,
I didn't know if I
yeah.
was going to need it or not, but we're always saying like clothing over chemicals. And, like people that talk about this stuff, like they also sell the thing, right? So
Mhm.
there's some of that. I think it's intuitive, and I think that as women, we need to listen to our own intuition on that. Like
Mhm.
for you, for me, it's different. Like we have different
Mhm.
skin types. So like
Yes.
I don't think there's one blanket statement to even say about that. What I can say is speak into my own experience of I've always been a sun baby. I've always been out in the sun. And if there's a couple of things that I do know, people that spend more time in the sun live longer. I mean, it's all cause mortality studies that they've done, and compared to people that live indoors. And so, is outdoors better? Even if you get skin cancer, your propensity to live longer is actually greater
Yeah.
and better. I'm not saying just like live longer and be decrepit and dementia, right?
Mhm.
I'm saying like thrive and add quality to your years, not years, just years. But do I sunbathe? Yes, I sunbathe. I have like golden Eastern European skin, right? So
Uh-huh.
I'm actually I used to go out like as much as I possibly could between 10 and 2 back when I was a teenager and didn't really know any better. I just wanted to
Yes.
be tan. Now I'm a little more careful about it in my
Right.
50s, and I feel like my skin looks better when I get out in like 11, like 10 o'clock to maybe 11:30. And I live in Western Wisconsin and
Mhm.
it's springtime here. Like that's the other thing, Lena, is like everybody has a different sun situation everywhere
Yes.
you are. So like what works for me, if you live in Florida, like, oh my God, it's gonna be baking hot, right?
Right.
You're gonna be like a lizard out there.
And if you're Fitzpatrick, like light Fitzpatrick like me, like you gotta build up your sun callus,
So
right?
that is the thing, like getting
Yeah.
out in the sunlight, you build your sun callus. So like I literally can't get sunburnt here. If
Yeah.
I were to go to Cuba and I'm just out all day, I'll get sunburnt, but I also know how to take care of that. You
Yeah.
expose your skin back to the light, those healing light rays of sunset. So the
Yeah.
red and infrared, and you put coconut oil on your skin, and that will actually help your if you do get sunburnt.
Yeah.
But avoiding, like the midday sun and sitting in the shade, like I don't understand why people honestly like need to put chemicals on your skin. I don't care if it's zinc, I don't care if it's
Yeah.
whatever. Unless you're on a boat, unless you're in an extreme situation,
Right.
right? And your little kids and blah blah, even that you put a linen shirt on, like I'm wearing a linen shirt,
Mhm.
and you put long sleeves on and you put a hat on. Like that's what our ancestors would have done. We didn't have sunscreen since 19 before 1950, and it's really really toxic. Like any sunscreen that is on the market is super toxic unless you're looking for the mineral based organic, like really high level safe stuff. And even with that, like if you're in LA and you're walking around, in the streets of LA and it's really bright and really sunny, it's always on your face, I would probably put that on my face.
For
I think
those days.
yeah,
Yeah.
Agent Natur makes a really beautiful one. Primally Pure makes a really beautiful one that I would
Mhm.
use. And then also Nadine Artemis,
Mm.
she's the Living Libations lady.
Oh, yes. Oh, I
She
love that
makes
brand.
yeah. Oh my God, I love all her stuff on heliotherapy, and she's so awesome. She's like, I think, what does she say? She was interviewed by Luke Story, like one of his earliest podcasts on The Lifestylist. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
And she said, he was like, how do you exercise? And she was like, well, sometimes I swim, sometimes I walk, and sometimes I sunbathe. And I'm like, I love that. Or bike. She
Yes.
likes to bike, swim, walk, and sunbathe. And I'm like, I love that.
The
So
natural way of exercise. You're not under fluorescent lighting in a gym every morning, right?
true.
I
Yeah. I
know.
mean, that's why the guys in Gold's Gym, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
they were on Venice Beach outside because you
Yes.
build that human
Muscle
growth
Beach.
hormone. Yeah, Muscle
Yeah.
Beach. Because they're
Exactly.
outside.
Yeah.
And they're getting all the electrons of the earth. So like
Oh my
this is
gosh.
a perfect environment of that.
Yes.
We actually do kettlebells in our yard in the summer. That's how
So
we work.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
Did I answer your question, or was it like a
Yeah,
round?
no, it did. It did.
Okay.
I think it is situational. And I think like this one size fits all, it's never the answer. And you should be very mindful about your environment. Where are you going to be? Like,
Yeah.
why you're putting this on if you're going to be in an office all
Right.
day? Although
Yeah.
I don't know in terms of like blue light, if that's helpful or not. But
But if you're going to be in the blue light, instead of putting anything on your face, just supplement with the Edison bulb.
right,
That would be
exactly.
that's
And
into it.
Right. And these beautiful glasses. Can you tell me about your like gorgeous feminine glasses?
Yeah, well, that's the other half. Like we only got to like the
I
half
know there's so much to
conversation.
say.
I mean, even going back to like, neurodivergent kids and special needs kids, we didn't actually finish that conversation. So like the food and
Yeah.
the light during the day, but at night, if they're in a light environment that is not conducive to human biology, which is artificial light at night and it's LED, then put a pair of orange lenses over their
Mhm.
eyes if they can handle it. It will actually make them calmer because the orange
Yeah.
lens, these are yellow lenses that we're wearing.
Yes.
These are daytime,
Mhm.
but the
Yes.
orange lenses actually mimic firelight. Our ancestors would have seen
Amazing.
two types of light, sunlight and firelight at night, right? So
Mhm.
keep lamps on. So we always say to don't try to turn off as many, or try to not turn on as many overhead lights as possible after sunset. And again, depends where you live. Like it's crazy town where we live in Wisconsin because in the winter it's 4:30. So we turn on incandescent lights in our kitchen so we can see our food. And like if you have red light, a lot of people, biohackers, have red light in their houses. But for us, like that only works three quarters of the year, right?
Right.
And at certain times, because if you're cooking your food and you have a red light, you won't see yourself, you get cut. Like it's kind of
Mhm.
dangerous. So just
Mhm.
be careful, take small steps. You can switch out your lighting to circadian friendly blue light free lights, amber and red. You can use the Edison incandescent bulbs, turn on lamps, anything that's not telling your brain that there's overhead light, because that's telling your
Yeah.
brain it's noon, right? And to create cortisol. So bring the lamps down so that the glasses make it seem like it's firelight. Your child will get sleepy
Yes.
like quicker. We actually experimented this on my teenagers. And when Thaddeus moved in, he brought all the biohacking stuff and we have a red therapy light in our living room and a fireplace. And the kids were like starting to go to bed at like 10, 11 instead of like staying up, whatever. And they were
Right.
teenagers. And I was like,
As teenagers usually do.
right.
Yeah.
And they're like, one of them was like, I'm getting sleepy. It was like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, no, I have no idea why. It's your environment, right? It
Yes.
all
It's your
goes back to
environment.
your environment. So if you can't control your light environment, Lena, put blue light blocking glasses on. Now you can control that. When we're in the airport and you can't control, right?
Yeah.
And the airplane, oh my God, the airplanes have the
It's
worst.
so
They're
bad.
literally the worst. Put a baseball cap on. So this is our protocol, is like you put the baseball cap on and then the appropriate glasses for daytime or nighttime. And
Yeah.
immediately when you get off the airplane, find a park, go there, take your socks off, ground, and get as much sunlight. Your body recalibrates your eyes, because your eyes read the melanopsin receptors, read the UV, and it will recalibrate where you are in the world. It's so cool. And it will connect you back into your circadian rhythm.
I need to do that because I'm traveling in like 2 weeks and we're
Are
going
you?
to, yeah, because I'm from Poland originally. So we always go, we visit, and then we're going to Germany, Slovakia, and Austria. So we're landing in Germany. So I'm going to be looking for that park for sure. Because, it's like you lose a night of sleep
Yeah.
too when you
Yeah.
travel sometimes on these international flights. And so we're leaving at like 6:40 p.m. and we get there and it's 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And so you're losing your sleep. So
Right.
your environment is disrupted and the jet lag. And I think the jet lag gets so much better if you do ground and you actually are mindful about this environmental knowledge. Don't worry about it.
My computer died, so I was like running in.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay. We made it work. Thank you for
Back in my
coming back so
office.
quickly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to show you really quick too. This is that cute little lamp that
Oh, I love
it's
it.
just like super retro, and like
Yeah.
the camera's gonna blast it with the light, but this is the Edison bulb that
That's so
just
cool.
keep
I have
there.
to
Yeah.
get a few. I have incandescent lighting. I have some like very bright like lux lighting. So I have
Mm,
some of that in my kitchen. But after your interview with Alex, I had no idea you're not supposed to turn off like overhead lighting at night. So now
yeah.
we have to like readjust some of these things. Although I do have also non-flicker LED lights that change color. So we put those for on red in our bedroom, my son's room. So
Perfect.
I wonder if
Yep.
that's okay if they're overhead and they're red.
I mean, it's better than anything else.
Okay.
But honestly, like it comes down to intensity, Lena, and then your brain, like I said, like your pineal, like it's reading overhead luminosity, but your eyes
Mhm.
really only read blue and UV light.
Okay.
So yes, it's a biohack. It's actually tricking your brain to think it's darkness, but I would shut them down as soon as you can.
Yeah.
If you and when the moment you don't need them, it's funny because like I learned all this stuff from Thaddeus, and he's
Mhm.
always like, he'll walk in, I'll just shut it off, and I'll be like, I need to see stuff. He's like, well, use a lamp, and I'm like, I mean, he's really, really, really picky,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The pickiest. He's like, I know too much.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's true. Once you know all these things, it's so hard to like
Yeah.
ignore it.
Right.
It's
Well,
key.
and he was like recording videos like back in the Primal Hacker days when he was like before 2020 when he was doing a lot of social media and a lot online, and he will not even like I'm pointing to I have an LED light for like camera luminosity,
Mhm.
and he won't even, he'll be like, I won't use it. I and any filming or anything, he'll just avoid it. He's like, I just know how bad it is. Like
I
it's not
love
worth
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and for somebody like him, it probably won't influence him that much. I'm assuming because he does all the right things with the light most of the time, or maybe it will influence him because it's
Well,
that one time off when he's like not using the correct lighting environment and it's gonna cause some disruption there.
Well, and that's one of those really crazy things is like you start doing all this stuff and sometimes you can be more sensitive to it. So like
Yes,
even in the
I
airport,
am.
I feel like we're way more sensitive than most people because most people just don't really even know, right? Or
Yeah.
understand. So is it like, I don't know. I'd rather know and then be aware of it, I guess, and then share that with other people because honestly, like there's more to the blue light than just biological like nuances or like longevity. It also makes you suggestible. And there's a lot that goes into that
Yeah.
and why we have all these screens and all these things, right? That are not, they're not for our good and our health benefit.
Yeah. They're not.
Let's just
They're
say
not.
that's a whole nother conversation, but
Oh my God.
we don't want to just be consumers. Let's
Right.
just put it that way.
Yeah,
Right.
right. And the more you get out in the sun, it's going to undo some of that,
Right.
influence from blue light for sure.
That's why, I mean, if we always say like there's the rule of opposites. So
Yeah.
if people in the mainstream, whatever mainstream is saying, like if the sun is, going to harm you or the sun is blah blah, it's the opposite is true. If
Yeah.
there's this happening in the world, the opposite is probably true.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was like my lesson because I went vegan for a few years and I always thought like
Mm.
a plant-based movement. Yes. I got so sick. I got so sick. It was awful, awful for
Really?
me. Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, I really think that's why I had like
Yeah.
bad postpartum depression and just
Mm.
skin issues, autoimmune stuff. But, it used to be what like that's still the message out there very much, right? Like eat your plants, eat your veggies, you're going to be healthy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're saying that Lucky Charms cereal is better for you than red meat, and like eggs cause cholesterol, which is so bad for you and it's going to kill you. So yes, I also do the opposite
Yeah.
of what's out there, very much so. And it has benefited me greatly ever
Yeah.
since I started that.
Well, that's the thing is like everybody's different. Everybody's biologically different. Where your
Yeah,
mother's mitochondria is from makes a
exactly.
difference, right? So
Yeah.
we're Eastern European. I would imagine you're
Yes.
Eastern
Oh, yes.
European because I'm Polish too. And
Oh,
yeah,
I was going to ask you that. Cool.
yeah. My grandparents would speak Polish in the house, and they'd
So
play
fun.
polka music. And like,
Yes.
they were
Yes.
like, oh,
Bring that back.
I
My
know
parents love
this.
that.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's so funny. I'd be a teenager and I'd be like, what is happening right now? But you know what else they were doing? My grandma was a homesteader. I wish she wouldn't have died
Yeah.
so
I
young.
know.
Uh, she liked her martini, she liked her vodka. So
Yes.
I think that added to, a lot of the
Mm.
dementia situation.
Well,
But she also
interesting because my grandma too, and she died
really,
of Alzheimer's. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, my grandma used a lot of aluminum foil, but
Yes.
she was also a homesteader. And I would go there and they would be making like chicken noodle soup. And I came from the 80s of like port. And my mom actually was an amazing home cook, but once in a while, we'd have a can of soup, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking there's going to be like little stars in it or, like whatever. And my grandpa, I remember sitting at the table, like listening to the polka music, and he pulled something out of his mouth. And I was like, what is that? He's like, well, it's the chicken knuckle. And I was like, and he starts sucking it and sucking like the gelatin out of it. And I was like, what? And then he would pull the whole foot out of the soup.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, like
It's so funny.
I was absolutely mortified.
Yes.
And now we buy those chicken feet
Yes.
and make stock from it.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
funny.
Well, I used to be disgusted by any type of fat. My grandparents ate so much fatty meat, and I thought it was the grossest thing I've ever seen. I would cut it off, all my meat, like I only could have the muscle, the lean meat.
Really?
Great. And now I'm like, well, okay, they were right again. Like,
Yeah.
let's go back. Like, it's the same thing. Same. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so crazy.
But it's really very much about going back to these older days. And yeah, Eastern Europe in general, I don't know every country, but like in Poland, my grandparents very much so practice these things. Like there was eating that was so much more seasonal, and you didn't have access to buy all these crazy things during communism. You had like rations, and like it was a very different lifestyle growing up. And I feel like that's why many grandparents grew up to be healthier. Like my parents, they moved here when they were in their 40s, and they brought us over. I was also born in Poland. So that's like where I grew up, and my first language was Polish. So my parents, whenever they do like a thermography scan, everybody's always amazed, like, huh? Like usually at your age, we see so much more inflammation and redness and all this stuff. And then they're like, yeah, well, we lived in Poland like majority of our youth, and into our 40s. They're like, okay, that's why, because it's just different. It's different. Just even like the quality of food is different. Now it's changing. Under European Union, there's, you go into a store, you have Oreos, and they're starting to push glyphosate and all that stuff. But growing up, we didn't have any of this. I didn't go to McDonald's until I went on a school trip in like middle school. Every single meal I had growing up was home cooked, every single one. So I feel like having this like this environment when you're growing up, and these basics, they really shape you as you grow, in terms of your health and just education in general.
Well, and that's what, Sally Fallon with the ancestral movement is trying to do, right? And she knew that back in the 80s. I think she wrote the book Nourishing Traditions back in the 80s. I think like getting back to the sourdough bread, the fermented vegetables, right? Like the soups and like all the things that feel really nourishing in the body, and honoring the animal that it came from. Like a lot of times when we had lamb chops the other night, and I don't love like the lamb situation because I love animals so much. It's really hard for me. And so I say a prayer over my meal, and I have this little thing that I do, and I'm just like honoring the animal that's in front of me. And I think a lot of times we just lose focus in this such a fast-paced, convenient world. Just like stopping and taking time it's the yoga of eating, right? It's like take a bite and just like savor that and be like, thank you, animal, for giving up your life flesh, for me to thrive.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a really important spiritual aspect of like, yes, it's not good to eat, ultra processed food, but the other side of that is like, it can be deeply spiritual. And I think we lose focus about that. And once you kind of get back to, we eat actually, we eat most of our meals outside.
That's
and
amazing.
I'm not talking like at a table, like sitting in a 90 degrees is actually not even meant for biology, right? Like, or for longevity, like squatting or standing or walking are all the things that are primal movements. But I sit and eat our meal on the ground and on the grass. We don't spray our grass with pesticides. And so, I'll pick a little piece of dandelion and I'll eat it with my meal. Like I love springtime, like I can eat my yard, and I add a few things. I know there's some oxalates and stuff that are happening with some of that stuff, but you know what? I'm not going to stop eating rhubarb and asparagus in the spring, because we grow all those things even in town. We have an urban farm, but those are things that are also detoxifying my liver from the winter, right? And so like eating, like you said, seasonally, and we're also foragers. So I go out and I'll pick some fiddleheads and I'll cook those, and just adding some variety. Like the original Mediterranean diet do you know it was actually a diet of 300 different plant species that the
Wow.
people in the Mediterranean, like the old women, really were the healers and the herbalists and like all those people. They knew what plants they could eat in so many varieties, and I feel like we've lost that. So what we're really trying to do is get back to like what's in our
Mhm.
environment, because
Yeah.
people get really confused about superfood too. Your
Mhm.
superfood is literally the dandelions in your lawn,
Right.
and they're detoxifying. They're not only doing that, they're actually building nitrogen where your lawn needs it. I mean,
Yes.
there's so many things. Like, oh, like we said, nature is the answer. And
Mhm.
you start spraying and killing all these
Oh,
things around you.
yeah.
Like, you guys, how can that be
Oh,
a good thing?
I know. And
So,
there is this obsession with the perfect lawn in
oh,
America. I feel like I hate it so much.
me
Yeah.
too.
My lawn is the ugliest one in the neighborhood. And
Same.
once I can get out of an HOA, like
Yeah.
it'll be even worse.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
and
so clearly.
I think also like, pushing back. And I think it's time, like some of those HOA things, like, when people start pushing back and like saying, no, like we don't want this, and get enough people, right? Put some signs up, clover over chemicals. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
don't want to,
seriously.
would you poison your mother? Right? Like that just doesn't make
But
sense.
so many families have kids. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm thinking, like, why? Why do you care about
Crazy.
this grass so much and you're spraying
Yeah.
it? And I have sent out to, like, because we have like a neighborhood group, like ways of like caring for your lawn naturally and vinegar and all that stuff. And like,
Mhm.
why not use that? Like,
Yeah.
clearly you across the street, so you have a neighbor, so you should be
Right.
thinking about these things, but not many
Well,
people do.
and the
Ever,
and
yeah.
well, even schools, like we live a block away from school, and I walk by and I'm like, there's a sign that says,
Oh,
like keep kids and animals off. I'm like, there's a place for kids. Like,
yeah,
where's the common sense here?
I
And
know.
oh my God, it actually makes me crazy. And it goes back to that one anecdotal story, the woman who cuts the ends off the roast. Do you know that? So there's a woman, it's like, an old, wives' tale type story, but
Yeah.
she gets a roast, she puts it in the pan, before she does that, she cuts off the two ends, and then she
Mhm.
puts it in the pan, puts it in the oven, blah blah. And then her husband comes in and says, why do you do that? And she's like, well, because I've always done it that way. And and then it goes back to her mom, and then her mom does the same thing, like the grandma. She cuts the two ends off the roast, and on and on down through like three or four generations. And what they found out was that the early great great grandma only had a pan that was this, so big, and so she had to cut the ends off to fit it
Oh,
in the
that's so
freaking
funny.
pan. So,
Yeah.
why do we do this? Because we've always done it that way. Well, we didn't
Right.
question it, right? That's the
Mhm.
moral of the story. And it's like so many things, with even like we were saying with the green grass thing, that came from the UK. That
Really?
whole, oh yeah, it was like a UK thing, and it
Oh
was brought
my
over to
gosh.
America, and it's absolutely insane. It's
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 so
literally
stupid.
insane.
It's so
Yeah.
stupid. I hate those signs where they have like the "Don't let your dog pee or
Yeah.
walk here" or whatever, and I'm like, "Where are they supposed to go? Like, on the
Right.
asphalt? Like, they already have so little space anyways. Like, they have to like, get over your grass, people. Get
Seriously.
over your grass.
Well,
Like, nobody cares."
and if your dog is healthy, it should actually be helping, because urine helps
Right.
your lawn. And
Right.
if they do it over and over in the same spot, perhaps not. But honestly, they're meant to like urinate to actually keep predators out. That's part of
Mhm.
what their job is.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a role.
Yes, I know. The
Yeah,
environment is perfect if you let it just do its job.
exactly. Well, and
Oh, I love that so much.
Joel Salatin and Sina McCullough, they talk about that all the time. I don't know if you
Mm,
are familiar with those guys, but is it Beyond Labels book?
mhm.
And it's like, what makes sense in this world? None of it, right? And Joel does such a beautiful job of talking about like regenerative farming and how everything is symbiotic and it works in
Yeah,
just pure nature, right?
yeah.
It takes care of itself.
I
Yeah.
think he was at Meatstock too, right?
I didn't
Or
see Joel there.
oh,
No, I
no?
don't I
I
don't
think
think
it
he
might
was
have been
there.
a different Joel who talked about regenerative farming. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably a different. I'm sure there was some farmer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he was there. But
Okay, okay.
yeah,
So maybe it's a
Meatstock.
different person. Yeah.
Meatstock's in Nashville next year.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's exciting.
It is exciting. I
Yeah.
know. I'm
I think it'll
definitely
be a little more accessible to people. Gatlinburg's pretty
yeah, I know. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere a little bit, but yeah.
We got
I
some
know.
good bear
When the
sightings.
bears. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We were downtown and there was all of a sudden we look like up this hill and there's this mama bear running like down the street. And then another bear was like half the size of her running after her. And then another bear after her, after that one, there's three of them. And we're like, what are we watching here? And then there was a cop car with its sirens that went after it.
Oh
And
my
we're
God.
like,
What is happening? Only in Gatlinburg. Well, I just watched a video of like recently the cops came because a bear got stuck in a bathroom in a hotel. So the cops came to like let it out and it ran off like nothing happened. But I'm like,
yeah,
it's only in Gatlinburg. It's such a cute town.
oh my
That's
God.
so funny.
It is
Oh man.
absolutely insane. But I was like, you don't chase the animal. Like, I'm sure they were
Yeah.
afraid of the animal causing some disturbance or hurting somebody,
Right.
clearly.
Yeah.
But I do know that if there's two interactions with a human that they have with a bear, they'll euthanize it.
No.
It's pretty
Oh,
bad. Yeah. So just
oh.
stay back and
Yeah.
won't taunt them or
Yeah, don't
anything.
bother them. Let them do
Yeah.
their thing. They're not gonna hurt you. Just stay out of their way.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. So I want to ask you one last question. When you
Yeah.
zoom out and look at the whole child, what do you think matters most or matters a lot that we often miss?
Oh, that we often miss. You know, the answer that's coming in, Lena, is like being an actual like parent. I think that tends to your child, but also helps your child create resiliency. And I think that a lot of times, especially in this culture, like we go too far in one side of that where like either the child's like ignored or neglected, and that's really bad for their, you know, their social behavior, their emotional mental state, and all the things that we're, I mean, our job here is to create safety for the child, right?
Mm,
But then I feel like, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with roles. And I
mm,
feel like, you know, like the father and the mother role, and it's like, well, dad's role is really important, and is to teach them, you know, like the hard things and how to kill a chicken, right? Like
mhm,
you teach that to your sons and in an ancestral way, right? Or you teach them, you know, like how to drive, or you teach them, you know, like all the things. And then the female's role is to nurture and create
mm,
safety. But if one of those are too far out of that, you know, spectrum, and it's too much nurturing, now, you know, like what are you doing? You're creating a child that can't be resilient in their life, right? Or it's going
mhm,
to have something down the line that they're not going to be able to deal with. I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen so many kids. I've gone through 4 kids of my own. I
mhm,
had one that was at 21, and then I had 3 more with the second marriage. And then now I'm on 2 stepsons, and I've seen so much between that gamut, 30 years of parenting. And I just think that like coming back, like I said, to that middle path of like, you need to be firm, you guys, and have boundaries, because children thrive in boundaries. But you
mhm.
also need to be kind, right? It goes hand in hand. You can be kind and firm,
Yeah.
and you can say no. Like a lot of times I see parents that they just can't even tell their kid no.
Right.
And then you're creating a monster. And
Mhm,
my goal with my children, my 3 children that are like from my second marriage, I had kind of a second shot at it, right? And I was like, what do I want to do here? Have a goal. Like what do you want your children to do? Of course we want them to be happy, like that's kind of obvious, right? But like what I wanted to create 3 children that are like really kind, that could talk to people, that are human, or I'm sorry, heart-centered, like really good people, just like
mhm.
fun, exciting to be around,
Yeah.
and curious, right? Like all the things that we can look at in a human that makes somebody really highly emotional intelligent. So like I had that goal in mind, because I wasn't really into kids, honestly. I had all these kids, but I was kind of like, they kind of bugged me. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. It's hard. Being
it
mom's
is.
hard.
And I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared, and I didn't
Yeah.
know. And I was like, these people have to keep up with me. And like when I'm out and about, because I'm Sagittarian, I'm very fly by the seat of my pants. And like I'm literally mama duck. Like you keep up with me. So
Yeah.
they have to, right? And I also wanted to be around kids that weren't bratty and that were like
Mhm.
really cool and fun. And that was really important to me. And I was like, I'm gonna teach. I was like, wait a minute. And I like had a moment one day, and I was like, wait a minute, I can teach them to be that way. Like
Mhm.
I can do that because I get to mold them, right?
Yeah.
And you get to actually program them. So I was like, I'm going to program these people to be really kind, amazing humans. And if you met my kids today, you'd be like, yep, they are. They actually
Mhm.
are. And I'm not trying to be like, blah, blah. I took the time, you guys. I put the time in, and I gave them boundaries, and I gave them wings,
Boundaries are
right?
so important.
Those things in balance, in
Yes.
perfect balance. Did I do everything right? No. Did I have hard times? Hell yeah. Was
Yeah.
it the hardest thing I've ever done in my life? 100%. But I was like, I took 7 years. I stayed home with them. I sacrificed. I was like, I want to be around these people. And you know what, Lena? They're my best friends, and they work in our family business. They're literally the best. Like when we go to the
I
theater.
met them, I think, right?
Oh
Were they
yeah,
with you?
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
oh my
Yeah,
God.
when we go to the theater, like we don't invite friends, we invite my kids because they're just awesome. They're so fun to be around,
I love that so
right?
much.
And like
Yeah.
I love having a big family. There's always something fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's, the missing piece is like you guys
Yeah.
put the time in. I see what
Yeah.
happens when you don't. And then it's a loosey-goosey situation, right?
Right.
And the kid's flailing because there's no boundaries. And there's
Yeah.
no rules. But you can't have rules that are so tight that the kid can't flourish either. And I
Yeah.
think every single kid is super individual, that whatever works for kid number 1 will not work for kid number 2 or 3. So you need to learn what their ways are, and like how they operate, what makes them tick. I know one of the things that it's not super popular like in the Christian community, but I love astrology for
Mhm.
that reason, because I actually went and looked when all my kids were born. Actually, do you know the Pope has an astrologer?
Really?
Oh
That I
yeah.
didn't know. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of astrology in this world that is hidden.
Mhm.
There's some really interesting things to it and nuances. And it's not like witch land or,
Yeah.
whatever that is. It's
What are the
like, no,
signs?
well,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a tool, and it's been around for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. I looked at my son's birth
Yeah,
chart when he
yeah,
was born. Yeah, because I know
right.
exactly when he was born, where, and I was able to get some of that information.
Well, then you learn their tendencies. So if
Yes.
you know their tendencies, like I know my Taurus sun is going to be totally different than my Scorpio sun.
Yeah.
Jackson, my Scorpio sun, he's like a freight train. And
And
what
my
do you do?
Scorpio, I get it.
So here's a little tip for us when you're dealing with Lena or slash Scorpios.
Yes.
When they're coming at you, you just get out of the
Get
way.
out of the way. That's all right.
Do not stop a freight train, right?
Yes.
And you guys, I used that all the way through his teenage years. And let me tell you, that freight train was a chaotic,
Oh my
crazy
God.
mess
It's
for
so
a
hard being a Scorpio teenager.
my
It was,
God.
yes.
I would dodge him, and then I'd be like, no. But then like there would be a couple times too that he would get mouthy with me. And I
Yeah.
was a single mom, right? I didn't have male figure in the house. That's something I wish I really had. But I would not engage in any confrontation with him, because boys like to argue. That's how they
Mhm.
deal with their, competitive spirit, especially with women,
Mhm.
because they usually win. But what you do in that situation is you say, if you raise your voice at me, if you're going to speak to me in a disrespectful way, I will not talk to you.
Yeah.
And you have to stick to your guns on that, especially with a strong male Scorpio in your house. I would say that to him, and then I turn around and I walk away. And
Yeah.
that makes him crazy, right?
Yes.
And they can't deal with that, or he'll just get pissed off and walk away. But
Mhm.
guess what? He always comes back.
Mhm.
And for me to be that strong pillar of strength and say, no, you don't talk to me like that. And every time you do, I will stop talking and I will walk away. But you can't relent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yes.
But like
Yes.
my Taurus son, Michelangelo, he would never do that. Like I never even had to have the conversation. And
Yeah.
he's just warm and loving. And like
Yeah.
knowing those nuances of each child was really helpful. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because
And your own.
yes, because these personality traits, they
Right.
do come out.
Yeah.
And it matters like what sun you are, what
Yep.
moon,
Yep.
what rising. Like, yeah, it all makes a
Exactly.
difference. And
Well, and there's
mine is
different
too.
elevations of those too. Like if you look at, even like, just pick on Thaddeus for a minute. He's a Sagittarian man. If you go look at
So
just some
funny.
like really,
My husband is too, and my
is
son.
he? Oh
Yeah.
my God, you're surrounded by all these Saggies. That's fun.
Seriously.
You must have a really fun life. Well, if you look at what they say about male Sagittarians, like they like to sleep around and, blah, blah. And it's like,
Mm,
well, that's a
that's
pretty
not
low
right.
level, right? So
Right.
like you
Right.
got to kind of look at some higher level stuff around specifically that very,
Mhm.
it's always, they always pick on Sagittarian males. I don't know why. I'm Sagittarian.
Yes. You said that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
December 2nd. But one of the things I learned about myself when I was reading about, early on as a parent, it said
Yeah.
that Sagittarian females can be very doting parents to a detriment.
Mhm. Mm.
So I know that about myself. And then when it comes up, I'm like, oh my God, I bought my daughter 3 birthday presents in a row. It's too much. And I'm
Because
like,
they're fun, and you're like, yeah, it's
I
too much.
know.
Yeah.
I have all these sons and then I got a daughter. So I was like, I like to dote on her, but it keeps me in check of like, oh, you know what? Like they've had enough. And it's funny
Yeah.
because like all my kids are very minimalist too. Like
Mm.
they don't like stuff. They don't want
Mhm.
stuff. It's
Mhm.
really interesting. And I'm like,
Well,
so we do experiences. That's
yes, I
yeah,
prefer that as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
definitely.
When I lived in New York, my mom and I, we would always treat each other to a Broadway show and a dinner together for our birthdays, and it was like our favorite thing for years and years
Oh,
and years. But I had to get out of New York because it was just a
yeah.
little too
What
much.
was your favorite show you've seen?
Oh my gosh, so many. It was so many good ones. I really love The Waitress just because I love Sarah Bareilles and I
Okay.
got to see her and Jason Mraz when they were on Broadway together. So that was really great. Yeah, and I loved Mamma Mia and Jersey
Oh,
Boys, like so many good
yeah,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah, so many good
Thaddeus took
ones.
me to Wicked
Yeah, I haven't
20.
seen that yet.
Oh
Yeah,
my, I didn't get to see it with I can't even remember their names, the 2 main.
with Dina
Yeah,
Menzel and
India,
yeah,
uh, Kristen
yeah, yeah,
Chenoweth.
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't see it with them, but whoever was after them
yeah.
was
They
just like,
always have good actors.
oh,
Yeah, I mean Broadway is just full body experience. It's if you
seriously.
can go.
Yeah,
It's so worth it. Even
definitely.
for men, like it's not just for women.
Right.
Yeah, my husband enjoys it. He doesn't like musicals, but like you can also go to plays, but some of them are, for everybody. It's
Yeah.
just it's awesome.
Did you see the Mormon one?
I did not. The Book of Mormon. Yeah. No. Did you?
It was so awesome and awful. I mean, it's the guys who write South Park. I
Yeah.
mean, so it
Yeah.
is so inappropriate. Do
Mm,
never take your children there.
yes. Yes.
Go with your husband, but if you can see it, it is it's outrageous.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
I
So
think it's
anyway,
one of the classics that has stayed on. Like it still,
yeah,
I think it still plays. Yeah, it's one of the big
I'm
ones.
sure
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
bizarre and awesome.
yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, Heidi, thank you so much for coming on this show. Where can people find you and get these beautiful glasses you're
Yeah.
wearing?
Well, we have these in the nighttime version too. So we are at www.dreamwalkers. So it's dream and then walkers with a Z and then .ai. That's our website. And I also have a couple guides on our website. I think I mentioned it earlier, but we have a complete guide to blocking glasses. So if you want to learn more, it's literally a 5-minute read, you guys. And it's very visual and it kind of just goes through all the sciencey stuff. Cause I don't like, like really get into the science of it. I'm more of like the
Mhm.
feminine feeling. So my husband is Thaddeus Owen and he talks a lot about that. So I had him put in all the sciencey stuff with the other stuff. So it's a really beautiful yin yang of
Yeah.
of information. And we also have a healthy home lighting guide. Caveat, it only works on your desktop at this time. I can't
Mhm.
figure out the mobile version of it, but it's about a 15-minute read. And we talk about like starting with the bedroom, starting with the red lamp, and then working your way up like through your house to create a healthier environment, light environment, for literally every corner of your home. And there's we also sell circadian friendly blue light free night lights and reading lights and desk lamps. And you guys, everything on our website I've curated personally, and it's all like white, aesthetically pleasing. I wanted something that isn't just like some biohacker like black lamp in the corner, right? It's something that's really beautiful that you can feel like you're surrounded by something, slightly more luxurious because aesthetics are important to me. And
Yeah.
also, like Lena and I were talking about this before the podcast started. And the reason we started the Dreamwalkerz glasses is because we really saw a gap in the market for women's glasses that were cute.
Yes.
right? And
Oh, yeah.
not just Biohacker Bro. Yes, they work, and it is a great that Biohacker Bro brands are a really great place to start. But if you want to start adding to your collection, or if you want, like, these glasses are they're called Cloud Walkers. Listening to the podcast, I'm taking them off and showing the computer. But
Love it.
these, yeah, these are super light and airy. I've got a little ear grip on them because I have a really small temple width, so they don't slide at all.
Oh,
But they're called Nearly Naked. So we have this collection, and we have these in a
I
tortoise
love that.
shell, and they're a matte finish. And I don't know if you guys like if you're like into fashion-y stuff or whatever, but finding a matte finish
Yeah.
in a tortoise shell frame is very unlikely. And I think we're the
Yes,
only ones on the market that carry that style. But you barely feel like if you're on a computer all day, you barely feel that these are even on. Like
I
that's
love
how
that.
light and airy they are. And that's what I designed them for. And they also come in the evening, like I said, the evening they come in pink. And we have another collection that's like a more premium collection. It's called our Crystal Collection. It's like rose quartz and smoky quartz, and we have
Oh,
cute
how
aviators.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have like all kinds of like just fun. We have cat eye. We gave Alex Clark a pair of our cat eye
Oh, cool.
glasses, and now we have those on the website. She looks so adorable in them. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I could tell she could pull that off for sure.
Yeah. I know. I put them on. I'm like, no.
Love that. That probably wouldn't work for me, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like the ones you're wearing. I'm kicking
Yeah. These
myself for not grabbing them when I was in person because I could just have them right there and then. I have these, but these are totally bro glasses.
Yeah.
So
You know what? As long as you're wearing them and they work, like I don't care you guys if you're just getting into this stuff and you're like and all you can afford is a $20 pair from Amazon, I'd
mhm.
rather you go get that first,
Yeah.
right? And protect your melatonin. I mean, that's we didn't even
Mhm.
talk about that. Like melatonin,
Yeah, I know. I know.
right?
I had a question about that too, but we like yeah.
Yeah. You know, it was a little more parent focused. I
Yeah.
agree, but you
Yeah.
can learn about those things on our
Yeah.
about the
That's
melatonin.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah, because that's definitely a missing piece. You want
yeah,
light during the day, you want dark at night, and
exactly.
it's all very, very connected. Um,
Melatonin is anti-cancer, anti-aging, antioxidant. It's the body's master like cleanser at night that is
amazing.
it actually sets up 10 other hormones, including your hunger. So
Wow.
I even had people reach out to me and say, just by going in the morning sunlight and then protecting your eyes at night from blue light, she lost 5 pounds within, I think she said a week or two,
Wow.
just by doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well,
oh my God, like that's crazy. Thank
yeah.
you for sharing that.
Yeah. So for the parents of picky eaters, that's my population I work with. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
light
Right.
guys, because the gut is so disrupted and circadian rhythms are disrupted and their hunger cues are different, cravings are different.
Right.
So it all plays a role here. So
Well,
dark, dark. We need blackout blind curtains at night too
yeah.
for the kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, if you have picky eaters and you want to like kind of like reverse that, I mean, the more kids get outside and exercise and climb
Mhm.
trees, they're gonna be hungry. And
Yeah.
if you give them the right food, they're gonna eat it. Like I'm kind of old school and hardcore about
Yeah.
it.
But
And I'm
it
like,
sometimes it is simple like that. We
yeah,
overcomplicate things. Yeah.
right. It's not, it doesn't have to be complicated. Like if they're
Mhm.
hungry, they'll eat. You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
And
It's
and
true.
and but you get to give them the right food, right? And
Yes.
they have choices.
I love
If they
that.
don't have other choices around,
Mhm.
they're gonna eat it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so Heidi gave me a code for her store. It's Lena10 if you wanted to save 10%, if you wanted to get some great lighting or awesome glasses. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to include a link in our show notes too. But Heidi,
Okay.
this was one of my favorite conversations I've ever
Aw.
had on this podcast. Thank you so
Yay.
much for coming on. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the platform.